Hello, friends, and welcome to Pathologic Volume 5, Episode 19. It is time for a supersized puzzle today, so that means we're playing one we've played before. It is called a Kin-Kon-Kan, and you can jump back to the earlier video to see how this works, or you can just get a quick refresher as we take a look at the rules. Kin-Kon-Kan is a puzzle in which we place a diagonal line into some cells connecting two opposite corners. You can see that in the example solution here. We're just drawing a simple diagonal line in some but not all of the cells. Each region must contain exactly one diagonal line, so we're using one cell in each of the bold outlined regions. A beam of light enters the grid from each letter outside the grid and travels in a straight line, reflecting off any diagonal lines it runs into until it exits the grid. So, for example, beam of light could come from here, bounce off here, exit here. Each beam must exit the grid at a position marked with the same letter as its entrance, and if that letter is accompanied by a number, the number indicates how many diagonal lines the beam reflects off of. So you see this C, the beam enters here at this C, bounces once, twice, and exits here at the other C. Every diagonal line must be used by at least one beam, so we can't have any free-floating mirrors that are not part of one of the paths. Those are the rules of Kin-Kon-Kan, so it is time to solve a puzzle. Today's Kin-Kon-Kan puzzle was set by Shye. What I learned from the first outing is that we can look at one clues first because we should know exactly how they work. This E with a 1 has to get to this other E with a 1 and with only one reflection, and it should be obvious that that is right there. So there are no mirrors in that row up to that point. There are no mirrors in this column up to this point. And each region contains exactly one mirror, so we can mark the rest of this region as no mirrors, smooth sailing. So that E clue is complete, and the I is going to be the same. That's the other one that we get. So we get a mirror right there so that that works, which means that all of these are clear, and then the rest of this region we can mark as clear. So that will get us going. What do we tackle next? Probably 2s. The G2 is telling me something here. So in order for a 2 to work, we're going to have to bounce a 2 where they're all both on the same side, that is. That's going to have to be going east, bouncing south, and then bouncing west. That's the only way we're going to get a 2. And since there can only be one mirror per region, that's got to happen in a place where these two columns are in different regions. So they don't turn in any of these early places, because if they turned, they'd have to turn twice in the same region. So it could be, for example, here is the earliest we could have that happen. And if not there, then here or here. But we can't go ahead and mark these as non-mirror, because if it does happen here, then all bets are off on what happens later on. Let's see, are there any? There is. Yeah, there is. There's another one of those right here, and down here. This one looks a little simpler. The K's can't turn here and can't turn there, and this is actually going to tell us what's going on because, oh, and we can do the same thing here. I don't know why I didn't see that. We know there's a mirror here, and we know there's a mirror here because those are the only cells left in those regions. So that mirror, since this G comes over this way, this has got to be where it deflects down, because otherwise it would deflect up and off the grid. So it's going to reflect down and it's going to reflect left. Go south and then west. So these are not mirrors, and our G is done. And let's do the same thing down here. This has to be a mirror, and if it went in the positive diagonal, then this would bounce off the grid, so it goes along, oops, misclick there, goes along the negative diagonal, and this has to be the other side of that to make that work, and these are not mirrors. So our K's are done. That does mean that right now, this F clue and this B clue bounce off into no man's land, but they've got a big number, so they can do some other shenanigans before making it back. What can we know about these two cells? Because we know they've got mirrors in them. This one, if it were in the positive diagonal, then our A would meet up with the other A, but it would do it in one bounce, and it needs to have 5 bounces. So this must go the other direction and then do some crazy stuff before finding its way back. How about this one? If we need to get this D over to this D, and if this bounces west, it's going to bounce on whatever mirror is in this region, and certainly won't end up down here. So it's got to bounce east. I'm having some big misclicks. It's a little too late for me to be recording, I think. So this bounces east, and then only gets one more bounce before it gets to its destination. So it's got to be lined up with the other D, which is going to be right there. So we can mark the path as having no mirrors in it the whole way. And our D is done. That has given me only one place to put a mirror in this region. And we can't, from this J, we can't bounce to the east because we'd go off the grid before getting to our goal. So it bounces west. Okay. Let's see. Which ones have we... So we've dealt with those. Wish there was a nice way of marking that, but I don't see any way to do that in this interface. A is going to do some other stuff. E is done. F will do some more stuff. What is vulnerable? Probably... okay, I think... Alright, so we're going to... I've marked this mirror, so none of these have mirrors. Make sure to get that in there. That means something about this J, I'm sure. Because it goes all the way up to one of these two cells before turning. Probably not enough. Not enough for me to know much definitively, except that one of these is going to have a mirror in it for the J not to hit the edge of the board, which means that the rest of the cells in that region don't. There's probably more like that I can do elsewhere. Let me look for those kinds of things next. It would have to be a case where there was only one place for the reflection to happen. So there's also a rule that says every mirror has to be hit by a beam, which could well come into play here as well. This H bounces up and must hit one of these two. And where are we headed? We're headed here. So 1, 2. If we bounced east, we only get one more bounce. We're not going to make it over here. So one of these bounces west, and then it's going to have to bounce south, because we'll have 1, 2 in one of these, 3 in one of these, and it'll go straight down to here. We haven't disambiguated which of these two and which of these two, but that's how that one works. Can we do other things like that? The J4. Okay. All the way up here bounces in some direction. I think probably it's going to be west. So let's see what would happen if it went east. So 1, and then at some point down, 2, going down somewhere. It's going to have to bounce west, 3, and then I guess south. It's not going to make it to this in 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 would be the best you could do if we bounced east. So we are going to bounce west, which means we have to hit this mirror. So this goes in the negative there. 1, 2, and then we're going to have to hit this mirror. So 3, 4. Double check that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, that's good. So these are all clear. No more mirrors in this section either. So J, we are saying, is done. D is done. I is done. K is done. The H we have to deal with. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think we... Yes. Okay. So the H is going to have to hit this mirror to make it over to this H, which means we're going up, we're going east, we're going south, we're going east. And so we have to bounce on one of these two and then on one of those two, which means these 3 are unmirrored. Okay, so that will take care of H once we know which of these two to mark. On this side, we've done the I. The H we just talked about. B and C. B needs to get all the way over to this. 1, it'll bounce west at some point, and then it's going to have to bounce north. So it's not going to be one of these. It's going to have to bounce within this region. So I guess we can mark these two as non-mirrored because it's one of these that bounces west. It's not this one because then we'd hit that mirror. So it is one of these two and then one of these two. So these two are out. So we're kind of a similar situation to the H's. The H's, we know we've got this domino and this domino. There's no mark for dominoes, but that's what we're doing there. B, we're doing the same thing, but it's these 2 dominoes involved. Oh, which means that this bounces up here through this cell. So that's not a mirror. So this has got to be the mirror. And it has got to be what C3 hits, which can't go west because that would leave the grid. So it bounces east, 1, 2, and we only get one more bounce to hit this C3. So it's right there. So that we can do that. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so these we mark as no mirror. No more mirror in this region. So C is done. There's going to have to be a mirror right there, and it's the one that B3 hits, and we said that that has to go west, and it's got to go west all the way to here, where it will bounce north. 1, 2, 3. So this doesn't have a mirror. These don't have mirrors. And then this one is going to have to be mirrored. Let's see. Okay. C3, 1, 2, 3, done. B3, done. H3. This is where we need to bounce right here and here to get that. 1, 2, 3. That's done. Okay, I is done. K, J, 1, 2, 3, 4. D, 1, 2. We just looked at J, I, and H. This whole corner is done. I need to mark this one as non-mirrored. So we've got a region up here that's going to have to be involved somehow. That's interesting. Don't know how that's going to happen. We've got some cells here. We've got cells over here that still need mirrors. What have we got left to work with? F needs help. D is done. C is done. B is done. A needs help. So it's just A and F. Okay, good. So this F is interesting. Bounces over to the east. One of these two is going to need a mirror. If it was this one, we'd bounce down and then off the grid down here. So we're gonna turn right there, and we're gonna hit 1, 2, 3, and then we're gonna have to turn up here with our fourth one to get to the goal. So that gives that one a mirror. We can't have mirrors elsewhere in the path, and this region is done as well. So F is done. So we're down to just the A5, which has to end up here, bouncing off of this mirror. So it's going to be one of these two. It's going to be where it bounces. So these three are safe. 1, 2, and this is going to be 3 on this side of the mirror. So 1, 2, 3 bounces. We have 2 more bounces. It's going to have to be right here, finishing up this region, and then it's going to bounce here, which will go to that region. And let's just double check, even though it told us we were right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that finishes up all of our mirrors and all of our light beams and all of our regions. And that is how you solve a supersized Kin-Kon-Kan.